everyone, it's Jai452 back again inside the land of cosplay, rummaging around and seeing what we can find on Inside Cosplay. Joining me this week is the one and only
Blondecay!
Hi Blondie, how are you today?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So, we were just kind of like deciding it's time that we do an interview with you because, you know, I've seen a lot of your different cosplays of yours, and I'm like, I definitely want to interview this guy. So I'm going to jump right in there with this one amazing question, and I'm going to ask you, when did you first start cosplaying?
I first started cosplaying, like, properly the last year, around April. Mm-hmm. But before that, I worked for Disney, so I was used to like playing characters and stuff like that. And I did started sewing a little bit before, but I wasn't making costumes for myself. So I started making costumes for myself a year ago.
Awesome. So since you kind of said two things there, you started working with Disney and then you officially started cosplaying, I'm going to ask you two separate questions here.
Yes.
So, in relation to when you first started cosplaying, do you remember who your first costume was?
Yes, the first costume I made was Joffrey Baratheon from Game of Thrones. I decided to cosplay this character because I was a little bit scared of how people were going to react, and I felt like if I took a villain, I would have a bit more time for myself, and I wasn't going to get too overwhelmed, you know, because I'm the shy type at first. I'd say that now cosplay has definitely helped me becoming less shy, but at the beginning, I definitely was a lot shyer than now.
Awesome. And in relation to when you were working with Disney, who was the first costume that you became, essentially?
Well, when I first started working there, I was there as a dancer, so I danced in the parade for many, many years, and one of the roles that I did first when I was on that parade was Green Army Men from Toy Story, and it was really good fun. It was good fun.
Awesome. So, who or what inspired you to get into cosplay?
Well, I would say that I've always been a big fan of acting and dancing and just art in general. And when I was working for Disney, I got the chance to portray a lot of different characters, and I realized that embodying someone is you know, you get to be someone else for a little while, and it's super nice. And then when I discovered sewing, and it just made complete sense to me to start cosplaying because it just combines all of my passions in just one big thing. So, yep, that's it.
Is there any one particular person that you, or group of people, that you follow on social media that are cosplayers?
Yes, I love Yaya Han. She is absolutely incredible, and I actually got the chance to meet her last month. She came to Brussels, and I met her for the first time, and it was amazing. I was so starstruck. And there's also Chris Villain that I absolutely adore. I think he's so talented, and what he does is just so much fun. And then Nikita Cosplay, I don't know if you've heard of her. She's a French cosplayer. She's been doing this for years and years, and she's specializes in Disney, so I have a soft spot for Disney, so yeah, I love her too.
So it's interesting that you've dropped a few of those names there. Yaya Han, if you're watching this, I did contact your people. I don't know whether or not you're available for that kind of thing. I know that you're a very, very busy person. Nikita, I'm sorry I haven't ever heard of you.
That's okay. No worries. You should check her out. She's awesome.
I will check her out. I will definitely check her out. And if she's somebody that you know personally or know of, we'll maybe be able to set up an interview with her at some point.
Yeah.
And as for Chris Villain, we love you, dude. Mwah.
Yes.
You can also check out, guys, Chris Villain's interview in the playlist. It's about there somewhere. So yeah, these are people who are still cosplaying to this day, Has there been anybody on social media that you follow that isn't cosplaying as much anymore?
Someone that isn't cosplaying as much anymore. Ooh. I don't think so, no. All the people that I follow are pretty in there, and they're making new cosplays and stuff all the time, so which is really exciting and really inspiring.
Awesome. So my next question for you is a two-sided question. So the first half of this will be, what has been the most challenging cosplay that you've done to date, both from the making of a costume and the acting side? Because there is a little bit of acting involved in cosplay, whether it's how a character talks, how they might move, how they might just generally interact with the public, or what they might do in certain situations. So let's talk about the making of a costume, because you mentioned Joffrey there, and I can imagine that would be pretty damn difficult to do from scratch.
Joffrey was it was difficult, especially because I was just like starting on the male. I had never designed a male costume before that, so it was hard, but I think the most challenging costume that is the costume that I'm working on right now. It's Poison Ivy. I'm cosplaying Poison Ivy. I'm doing a gender bend version of Poison Ivy, and I'm working on it right now, and it's extremely challenging because
I'm definitely going to give you the biggest amount of advice I can give on that, because I've done a gender bent Poison Ivy.
That's awesome!
And I can tell you for naught, if you're like me and you live in a very cold country 95% of the year round, do not do a half-clothed cosplay in the middle of November.
That is true.
Yes?
Yeah, you have to adapt your costume for the weather, because, otherwise you'll freeze.
I learned that lesson the hard way.
Oh, God.
But yes, so take us through that. Like, what is it you're finding kind of difficult about the Poison Ivy cosplay?
It's, I think it's difficult because it's time consuming, and it's the sort of cosplay where you have to repeatedly do the same things over and over and over again, and I feel like you still need to keep that motivation going, because you can, when you do it, what I love about cosplay and when you make a costume is that usually it comes together quite fast. You can see the results like quite fast, but this is a costume where there's so much, because I've decided to customize all the leaves that I will be adding to my costume, and all this customization is very long process, and I have to do a lot of leaves, and then I'm going to incorporate a little bit of armor in there, and because it's a design that I completely designed myself, inspired on a few fan arts. And so I think this is the most challenging part, I think, is to not get demotivated, because it takes so long to make, and it's so, like, such little details that you have to pay attention to. And so I think that's why it's the most challenging, I would say.
Okay. Now, I have a funny feeling that Poison Ivy is going to be the same answer for the next half of this question. The acting side. So, to date, what has been the most challenging from an acting standpoint?
From the acting point of view, the most challenging has been Esmeralda, because my Esmeralda gender bend, because I used to be a dancer when I was younger. I went to dance school, and I hadn't been dancing for years, and I just love Esmeralda so much, and it gave me an incredible opportunity to start working on my dancing again. And because I took part in a contest with my Esmeralda gender band, and I needed to put an act together, and so I started rehearsing and put a lot of time and effort into the dancing. I actually won first prize at that contest, so I'm really pleased. But it was nice to be able to dance again, but also very, very challenging, because I hadn't been doing that for years.
I think I can officially talk about this now. I put a poll up on my Facebook what will be a few weeks ago now when this interview goes out, asking who my next cosplay should be for an event that I'm going to in May.
Yes.
And the two choices, well, I had four choices to begin with. And I put it down as two first. And one of them was, actually, was it three? I think it was three, sorry. One of them was Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon. Because I've been told that my personality and how I carry myself is very much like how Hiccup is in the first movie. So I'm like, I'm okay with that. You know?
Yeah.
Can totally be a self-conscious type of person. The other one was a gender-bent black canary.
Nice.
But I didn't want to do black canary as such because, like, I thought black canary is just so goody two-shoes, you know. not that I have anything against her, you know. I love Black Canary as a character, but she was just so good, and all the characters I've done so far have been either bad or very questionable in their motives. And I just thought, no, I don't want to do the Black Canary because everybody does Black Canary. Like, I see lots of girls doing their version of Black Canary, and I'm like, I really digged the Black Siren character from the show Arrow, and I've not seen that at any Comic-Con yet, like from the States or the UK. And I thought, I want to try and beat the crowd as such, and maybe do a gender bent Black Siren.
That's a good idea, actually.
So,
can't wait to see that.
But it turned out that Hiccup was kind of winning that race. So a lot of people wanted me to do Hiccup. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to start looking for, like, even before the vote came in, I was like, I need to start looking for the materials to do this.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, it is so hard to find either real fur, fake fur, or imitation fake fur. It is so difficult.
It's true.
And sadly, I can't, like, afford to ship it from wherever I can get it online, because that's what everybody's been saying to me. Oh, get it online, you'll get it online, you'll get it online. And it's like, I am aware of this. I am very aware of this. I'm also aware that it will cost me upwards of, I don't know what currency you use. I mean, I use pounds, but then I'm in the UK, so...
That's fine. I lived in the UK for a year, so I'm fine with pounds. I know how it works.
I think it was going to cost me upwards of £45 to get it shipped. And that's on top of what it would cost me to buy it.
Wow, that's a lot for shipping, hey?
Yeah. So I was like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to do this. So I had to look at alternative ways of doing the kind of fur jacket that Hiccup wears. And then I was like, no, there's no way. There is no way that I would get the material in time. I would not have time to make the jacket if I was having to make it. There's just no way in hell.
Yeah.
So I put up an alternative post still with Black Siren, because I've got a few things that I could use for that. Because I was like, there's no way that I'm going to look exactly how Katie Cassidy does on the show. Because again, I don't have the money to pay for an outfit like that. Plus, she's got certain aspects to her body that I don't. So we're going to let that slide. So I was like, okay.
You have to do what makes you feel comfortable.
Pardon?
You have to be comfortable in your cosplay.
Exactly.
So if this makes you feel uncomfortable, then no.
I was kind of doing it my own way, and I thought, well, I've got various kind of pieces of clothing that I can use. And the things that I would need to get wouldn't cost me too much. So it would be doable. So I put the Black Siren in again, and then I said, okay, I need another character that's easy to do and will not cost me an arm and a leg. And I thought, what characters do I know that I could pull off that I practically have half of the costume already? And I'm looking through all the characters that I know from various, like, different locations, and an episode of Smallville was on.
Oh.
The TV at one point.
Yeah.
And it's one that Zatanna features in quite prominently, and I'm like, gender bent Zatanna. No, that would be her, like, her father, Zatara, and I'm not old enough to do Zatara. Not that that would stop me. You know, if I wanted to do Zatara, I could. But I was like, I need a character that's close to, like, a teenager age. And then I started reading, oddly enough, Teen Titans that day. And Zatanna's cousin, Zachary, appears in it. And I was like, there we go.
Yay!
And I thought that's really cool because he's quite an obscure character, but he's there in the lore. So if people ask me, I could say, well, if you go and read Teen Titans issue number blah blah blah, you see Zachary Zatara.
Yeah.
So I put him in the vote, and as of this morning, I double checked it, and Zachary won the vote by an astounding 60 to 30%.
Nice.
So for my next cosplay, I will be cosplaying as Zachary Zatara.
Yay!
And I have been practicing speaking backwards as well, which is a lot easier said than done.
Yeah, sure.
Definitely. So we spoke about how difficult things can be when you're making a costume. So my next question is, this is a kind of almost similar question to the last one. In your opinion, what is the most difficult cosplay thing, i.e. creature, or character to cosplay as, both from the making of a costume and the acting side, in regards to yourself and other people? So let's start with yourself. What is something that you might look at from the making of a costume and go, I'm not quite sure how I would achieve that?
I think mainly now, because I don't have a lot of experience with armor making, so all the characters that have big armors look so difficult to make to me, because I haven't had a chance to do a lot of armors. So yeah, I would say those ones. And even for like the acting part, because I believe that when you do a costume like that, you have to be able to make sure that you can move in it and that you can still, you know, act in it and that it's comfortable for you to wear. So I feel like a lot of thinking needs to go into that, and I think those costumes are very, very hard. I don't have a name that comes in my mind, but in general, those like big armor costumes are scary to me.
You would be surprised how many people tell me that. Like,
Oh, really?
There's been very few people that are not intimidated by doing an armor build.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, I actually bought a book from Kamui Cosplay. Do you know Kamui Cosplay?
I've heard of them before, yeah.
She makes like tutorial little books that teaches you how to do different things for cosplay, be it fabric, like costumes with fabric, or armors, or adding lighting to your costumes. And I actually bought 2 of her books, and I definitely want to give it a try, you know. So I will. But I'm going to start with a small project, you know, small armor project. I'm not going to go with a big, huge armor straight away, because that would just be shooting myself in the foot. So,
and nobody ever wants to shoot themselves in the foot.
Exactly.
Speaking of shooting oneself in the foot, like, I highly remember when I was doing like my Poison Ivy costume. I took mine to a professional costume maker and said, how does this work? You know, like, what do we do? And she kind of took me through the stages of what to do and how I had lots and lots of fake ivy with me at the time, and she's like, you don't want to stitch that right into the costume because the leaves won't retain their shape.
Yeah.
So I was learning things like that, and I was like, oh, so if I only stitched a little of the leaf to the actual fabric, then it will retain the right shape.
Yeah.
So it's such a learning process in that regard. And my costume wasn't anything overly flashy. I mean, the costume that I based mine on, oddly enough, was from the movie Everybody Hates, the Batman and Robin movie.
I like it. I don't know why people
Um,
hate it. I think it's great.
I think it's because of like really cheesy acting in that regard.
Oh yeah,
Um,
but it's old as well, so you know, for the time it was good.
well, a lot of people say that that particular movie is just a giant toy commercial, which, to be fair, after watching it, I can kind of see it, you know.
Yeah.
But getting sidetracked there, like my particular costume was when she first emerges as Poison
When she takes
Ivy.
off her big like monkey suit.
No, 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 no. When she
Oh,
first comes out of the ground.
oh okay,
Um,
yes, got it.
so after she's been like pushed over and all the chemicals and
Hmm.
whatnot fell on her,
Yeah.
that's what my costume was based on. So I had this like dark green vest on that was all ripped up to shreds, and there was ivy poking out of it and around it. These ripped up
Awesome.
like um shorts on that were kind of like a khaki brown color.
Yeah.
Because I really like. Oddly enough, it's so difficult to find a really good photograph of Uma Thurman in that costume. The
True.
only
Yeah.
pictures I could find of it at the time were stills from the movie, and
Yeah.
even those were blurred.
Yeah.
So me and my costume maker were just basically doing guesswork. We're like, well, it kind of looks as if that's how it looks there.
It's true.
How
It's
do we
hard when you don't have a good reference picture. It's very hard
exactly?
to try and build something.
But it worked out relatively well.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I was saying was I was extremely cold the entire day. But it was so much fun to wear it, and I thought, just fantastic, you know.
Yeah, she's a great character. I love her.
I know, she has such a good character.
So sassy.
Moving along, so let's say you know me relatively well, and I come to you and say, Blondie, I am looking to make a toothless costume with workable wings. Like they expand out and then can decontract in. What would you do? Well, what would you say to me for advice on a costume like that? Because obviously that's quite like a stand to say, hey, I want to have wings that expand and also come back in.
Yeah, it looks like it's. I would say that it's very technical. So I think my advice would be to probably try and do a lot of mock-ups before you actually start using the right material or things to actually make the proper wings. And I would probably advise you to try and look online for tutorials, because YouTube is full of tutorials and I feel like they can be really helpful. I personally never made wings like that, so I probably wouldn't be able to give you like advice from experience, but I would definitely say the best way to do is doing mock-ups and then looking at tutorials, and then eventually everything should come together. Hopefully.
Now, let's say I've done that costume now, and I come to you and say, okay, Blondie, we've done the toothless costume. I'm now looking to do a costume that, well, I'm now looking to do a character that I've got the costume completely to a T for, but I'm not quite sure how to act this character. So let's say the costume is somebody like the Joker, who is very, very out there. You know, you have to be the center of attention with a character like the Joker, or Deadpool, or even to a lesser extent Loki from Thor. You know, these types of characters are very prominently loud. And let's say you know me as quite a quiet person. What would you advise in the run-up to doing a costume like that?
In terms of, I think, embodying your character, I would try and divide the character into 3 different aspects. I would say that the best way is to work on your character when it comes in to posing and maybe facial expression. So the whole like photograph, how you're going to embody that character for like a photo, and then you can also focus on how you're going to act, like when you meet people, but because of course there is a little bit of acting when you meet people, but then you also still have to be yourself because you want to be there and talk to people, and it's a great opportunity to, you know, discuss about costumes or about like the fandom that you have about this character. And people that come up to you to take a picture are probably highly likely fans of that character too, so it would be stupid not to have a conversation with them. And then the third aspect would probably be when you are up on stage and you maybe need to do bigger things. So for those three aspects, they're all very different. I think a great thing to do is binge on your character, on, you know, like movies or comics or videos that you can find, or people that other cosplayers that portray their characters, see what they're doing, see if this inspires you. And for the photography aspect, I think having a mirror is a great thing, you know, like try different facial expression, try to take your phone and take a few selfies, see if you can replicate this you know, facial expression that they have, or maybe this like pose that you want to work on. And I feel like if someone wants to have a character really down to a T when it comes to those things, it's work and effort and research. But usually when we cosplay characters, it's because we love them. So it's you know, it's not a chore. It's nice to be able to watch those movies or those videos and over again to get inspired. So this is what I do, at least.
I was mentioning about doing Zachary Zatara earlier there. Last night before I went to bed, I was sitting listening to the same spell that Zatanna utters.
Yeah.
During the Justice League Dark movie when she's really angry at Faust. And I'm just sitting there listening to it and listening to it and listening to it, and then even just trying to repeat it, which is extremely difficult to do because it is backwards. You know, it's audio said forward, but switched backwards so that it does sound like... So, like, I'm sitting there listening to it, and I know what she's saying forwards. I know the spell forwards. But when I'm trying to say it backwards, I'm like, am I saying that right? You know, because it does sound like another language. Yeah,
you should record yourself. Like, if you want to like train something like that is, you know, something that you could say, you could try and record yourself and then listen back to it. It's horrible to listen to it when the first time, because nobody likes to listen to themselves. But it's a great way to know what you're doing, you know, because you actually hear it how it is. So.
Do you know what? I'll let you in on a little secret after we finish this, but I might have a plan on that particular aspect.
Yay!
So there's a possible plan. I might need to get a dictaphone for this. I'm not sure. Secrets already coming out there, guys. The secrets of magic.
Wow.
So there are multiple different types of Comic-Cons that we can go to throughout the year. There's your big once-a-year ones that are your London Film and Comic-Cons, your San Diego Comic-Cons, your New York Comic-Cons. Those are your big once-a-year ones, really. And then there's your smaller, more local ones that happen every 2 or 3 weeks, or 2 or 3 months at the most. And then there's your middle-of-the-road ones that aren't massively huge, but they're not massively small either.
Yeah.
Which out of those three do you prefer going to the most? Do you prefer the big once-a-year ones, the medium ones, or the smaller ones, or do you like all three?
I think I like all three, but for different reasons. And I would definitely try to wear a costume depending on what sort of convention it is. Like, if it's a very, very big one, I think it's nice to have a costume that it's quite easy to move in and something that you can, you know, if you have to go through a crowd of people, at least you don't risk of everybody breaking your costume. And for smaller ones, I think having bigger costumes and, you know, it's a great chance to meet people as well. I feel like you meet a lot of people when they're in the very big ones, but then you don't get a chance talk to them for a long time. But then when you go to a smaller one, it's very nice because there's not that many people, so you get to spend more time with the people that you do meet or the people that you're with. So I feel like it's I like both, but for different reasons.
I also tend to feel that the bigger Comic Cons that you get suffer from what I like to call a New York minute.
Mm-hmm.
And that's simply, it's not a slap in the face to people who live in New York. So people who live in New York don't hunt for my blood.
Mm-hmm.
It's just simply because when you're at a bigger Comic Con, you don't get an awful lot of time with people. You get the opportunity to say, hi, how are you? Nice costume. See you later. You know, that is the end of your encounter with that person.
Yeah.
Whereas at a medium to smaller size Comic Con, you might get more than a couple of seconds with them. You might get 25 seconds with them. You might get half an hour with them. You might spend the entire day with them. You know?
Yeah, true.
It's completely up in the air. Not to say that that can't happen at a larger Comic Con, but it's not as likely to happen at a larger Comic Con.
Exactly. I totally agree with you.
And the long and short of it is, when it's a bigger Comic Con, the likelihood is either they're going off to a photo shoot or you're going off to a photo shoot.
Shoot, yes.
Somebody's asking for your photograph or their photograph, so you're literally dividing your time up and trying to please everyone.
Exactly.
Doesn't always work, you know?
No, it's hard.
It's very, very hard.
They're so big and they're so fun, so, you know, the big ones, you always want to go because it's the big ones. So.
When you've been going to these particular events, what is the one thing that you're most excited about? And the one thing that either you used to or still kind of do on some level find the most nerve-wracking?
I think it's kind of both in this, both at this, it's nerve-wracking, but I'm also really excited about it. Is when I go to big cons, I try to do cosplay contests now because I love doing cosplay contests because you get to meet so many new people when you're backstage, and you don't get to enjoy the con like walking around and, you know, but when you're backstage, you do get a chance to talk to the people, and then you get a chance to go up on stage, and I love going up on stage. So it's both very exciting but also very nerve-wracking. So I think would be my answer for probably both. So doing contests is definitely something that I'm always really excited about and scared.
I've got a funny story I can share here, and if you have one, you can also share it.
Sure.
My most recent Comic-Con was a smaller Comic-Con, but I did go in for the competition because I always go in for the competitions. It's like, I don't care if I win, lose, or draw. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I go in there to just have fun.
Exactly.
And I was cosplaying as Elle from Death Note.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what anyone says, that is a super easy cosplay to do. It is so comfortable, guys. I've heard so many different cosplayers complain about what they're wearing. And it's like, if you had any brain inside your head, you would pick a cosplay that is going to be practical and comfortable.
True.
And Elle is just a pair of jeans, long baggy white t-shirt, and sometimes it can be sandals, other times it can be these bad boys, Converses.
Cute!
I love my Converses. I will wear Converse shoes everywhere. My mother has to stop me from wearing them when we have snow outside. She's like, go put on a pair of boots.
Not a good idea in the snow.
Yeah, she definitely smacks me in the head for that one. So that's what I did, and I was so comfortable the entire day. The only thing that was probably bothering me was my wig because it kept going in my eye, but I was like,
yeah.
But it was just so comfortable, and I was so happy about it because I was like, oh, I'm not frozen, I'm just nice, and I can move, and just so great. So I got talking with some of the other cosplayers, and I ended up talking to this guy who was in a like actual metal Iron Man suit.
Mm-hmm.
And he had LEDs and everything, and he looked so amazing. There is actually a picture of him on my Instagram, stood next to a Jedi. So do go check that out, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all kind of like queued up, and he was saying, well, his handler or his wife, I don't know, was saying, "Oh, you've got your wire of your LED sticking out. Come here to like put it back up," because his armor was all plated.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like there was gaps in between each section, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw another LED light just kind of like sitting. I think it was about here on him.
Uh-huh.
So I just kind of like said, "You're also sticking out here. Do you want me to get that for you?" And he's like, "Yeah, if you don't mind." So I like pushed up the plate and just was sticking this wire back up him. And I was like, "That is just so weird." So we're getting ready to go up onto the stage, and we had to walk up these flight of stairs. And I'm not altogether all that big. I'm really quite small, frame-wise. And you had all these other people who were much larger in frame than me going up before me. And Iron Man himself is fairly large of frame. Not saying that he was fat or anything, he was just bigger than I was. I said to him, "Now look," because people were saying, "How are you going to get up stage? Do you need a hand getting up onto the stage?" And he's like, no, I can do it, but it just might take a while. And I said to him, "Now look, if you fall backwards off these stairs, do not expect me to break your fall. And if you do fall and crush me, just tell somebody that I gave a shit. I don't care who, just say, he gave a shit." You know? So yeah, I can totally empathize with people in that position, and that was an interesting thing that happened to me at that con.
Nice. Well,
anything interesting to yourself ever happened to you?
In cons, or I'm trying to.
Let's expand that to just while you're in costume or cosplay.
While I'm in costume. Well, funny thing. When I did my Esmeralda gender bend on the stage, I had a tambourine, and for that, I was using that tambourine for the choreography, and probably because I was too excited in the moment, there was this moment where I had to hit my tambourine on my knee, and I hit it so hard that my knee went through. So I broke completely my tambourine. I was just like, well, never mind. Let's go, guys. I'm going to keep on going. And you can't even see anything in the video, but I was cracking up on the inside. I was just like, oh, God, of course. Of course I had to break my prop, you know. But
the only time when it came close to me for cracking up was when I met Sean Astin.
Oh, yeah.
So it was at the end of the day, and you know yourself how long Comic-Cons go for. Like, it's a 9 a.m. to 7 o'clock at night kind of deal.
Yeah.
So it's like close to 7 hours kind of thing. And it was the end of the day, and I went to go and see if any of the celebrities were still there. And specifically to see if Sean Astin was there, because I wanted to give him the iGame business card. Simply because we were doing a podcasty type show that was tabletop, but it was based in Middle Earth, and we wanted him to know that we were doing that. Maybe, hopefully he would listen to it. I don't know. So I said to the guys that were doing it with me, I was like, Sean Astin's going to be at this. I'm going to try and give him a business card. And they're like, okay, brilliant. So I go up to him dressed as Poison Ivy, or my gender bent Poison Ivy. And the security guy stops me and he says, "Oh, I'm really sorry. Sean's finished for the day. He'll need to come back tomorrow." And I'm like, look, I don't want an autograph from him. I just want to give him this business card and go home. You know, because I'm tired. I've been here since 9 o'clock. I am exhausted because I've been up since 7 in the morning because I had to travel like 2 hours to get to the convention.
Wow.
And that's 2 hours back, so it was like close to 9, 10 o'clock that night when I got home. So I'm like, I don't want nothing. I want to give him this card and go home.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, you'll need to come back tomorrow. And I'm like, I'm only here for today. Can you give him the card? And he's like, I can't do that. You'll just need to try some other time. And I'm like, why? Is he going to be coming back in 2 weeks' time? You know. And he obviously, like, Sean overhears this and he kind of sees me having a conversation with this guy. And he's like, like, come over. And I'm such a little shit. I just walked past the security guy and was like, yeah. And I go up to Sean and he's signing autographs for the next day. And I said, look, I know you're tired. I'm tired. I know you probably want to go and speak to your family on social media. I just want to go home. I know you probably want to eat something. I'm starving as well. Mm-hmm. All I want to do is give you this card, tell you about our website, and tell you that we're running a show that is tabletop central, but it's based in the world of the Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. And it would mean a lot to the guys if you like maybe had a listen. Mm-hmm. And the whole time he's doing this, he's like still signing autographs, and I'm explaining, and he kind of looks up at me ever so slightly, and then looks back down and says to me, so what's your story then? Now, when I'm explaining to him, I've completely forgotten that I'm in cosplay. Yeah? So I look down at myself, see that I'm still in this Poison Ivy costume, and go, well, I'm what happens when Poison Ivy has a one-night stand. Is at that point he stops signing, looks up at me, kind of like pays attention to me. And I'm like, it's just how things are, dude. You've been in Middle Earth, you know what this kind of crap is like.
That's funny.
So he obviously got a really good kick out of that, and I then explained to him basically all about iGame, what we were doing at the time, and I actually he got a picture of him dressed as Samwise, but it was like a I don't know what it's called. It's like a preliminary picture. Mm-hmm. It's not like on set or anything, but it's like a professional photo.
Yeah.
He pulls one of them over and he signs it, and I'd like call my cousin over because obviously I need to pay him for it, and I'm fumbling around trying to get money out of my wallet, and he's like, "Oh no, just take it. You made me laugh."
Oh,
like,
that's nice.
Okay. So if I'm ever getting an autograph from somebody and I don't have the money to pay for it, just make them laugh. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah. That's a good tip, yeah.
Doesn't always work though, guys. Depends on the celebrity.
Yeah, probably, yeah. It's worth a try, and everybody likes laughing, so it's worth a try.
But I literally got to take that home that day and say to the guys, hey, I made Sean Astin completely laugh by saying
that's so cool.
One night stand and all. But yeah, I mean, I love little things like that at conventions. They're so much fun. In terms of nerve-wracking, I always, like, I'll agree to an extent with certain other cosplayers. I think debuting a new cosplay can be very nerve-wracking.
True.
Simply if it's, like, especially if it's one you've never done before. Like,
yeah.
I'd never done L before. I'd done L at a Halloween party, but that's not a convention.
Yeah.
So, and I'd changed the costume a bit since then. Like, I know how to work with wigs, and I know how to act more like him now than I did then. So it's very different in that regard.
That's true.
So I can sympathise there when it's a new costume, but if it's one that you kind of slightly have done before, you're not as nervous about it.
True, because you already know, like, you've met people and they probably comforted you in your cosplay and told you that your cosplay looked nice, and so it's easier when you wear it for the second time. Debuting in cosplay is definitely something that is very stressful.
It can.
Because you don't really know what people are going to think about it, you know, and if everything is going to hold, everything is going to stay in place.
We just
you know?
pray that happens. We're like, I can remember wearing my Poison Ivy one, and I'm like, please let there be no wardrobe malfunction today.
Yes, those are the worst.
I'm like, I knew I was getting pictures taken that day, and I'm like, please, 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 no wardrobe malfunction. I don't need no nipple slips or anything. just no, because, well, like, I know a lot of cosplayers like to promote a positive body image when you cosplay. It's like, it doesn't matter what size you are.
Yeah.
You can be like extremely skinny or slightly more built or heavy or whatever you want to classify your body type as. It doesn't matter. But when you know you're getting a picture taken, you're like, you want to look your best. And
True.
That's why I was like, I need no wardrobe malfunctions today. I look semi-okay in my own eyes. There is, unfortunately, one picture I got taken that I love and hate at the same time. So...
Why?
Because there is a wardrobe malfunction in it.
Oh!
But it's not noticeable unless you're looking for it.
Okay.
So, but because I, like, whenever I get any of my own images back, I literally scan through them. Like, piece by piece, like a laser printer. I go through my images and it's like, okay. Oh, that's not good. Oh, that's not good. Oh, that needs airbrushing out.
But we are our worst judges, like because we see things that sometimes people don't see. It's just because when you've made your costume and when you wear it, you know where everything needs to be, and sometimes you spot things that normal people wouldn't spot. So
definitely. When you've been going to these particular conventions, big, small, and medium-sized, have you been taking part in the cosplay competitions or cosplay masquerades, as they're sometimes called? And if so, did you win anything? And what was going through your mind if you did win something?
So I did two competitions. I did one as Peter Pan, and then I didn't win anything, and that was my first competition. So I was pretty nervous, and I didn't know what to expect. But I had a great time, so I competed again at the next con with my Esmeralda gender band, and I won first place solo. So I was very excited, and I wasn't expecting it at all. But I feel like when you do competitions, it's not so much winning that is nice, it's more like who you meet backstage and who you get to talk to, and because you learn a lot of new things. Like, I love to talk to people who make armor, for example, because I don't know much about it. So I love to talk to them to get to know, how they made the stuff that they made, and to get, advice for the future. Or so I think this is a nice aspect because you're there backstage with them for a huge part of the day. So it's nice to be able to talk with them and make new friends, and it's actually easier to make new friends when you do competitions than when you don't, I think. But yeah.
Have you ever been asked to judge one of these competitions?
No, I haven't, but I would love to. I feel like I want to do a bit more competitions myself before I can judge, because I feel like it's nice to have experience with the whole, being on the stage, and it's a completely different aspect of cosplay that you don't get to do unless you do a competition. Like, you don't have to walk up on a stage unless you do a masquerade or a competition. So it's something that is very specific to that area of cosplaying. So yeah, I definitely want to do more competitions, but I would love to be a judge one day. I'll be
So
nice.
good luck with that one. Because I've spoken to people who have done judging, and they always say, "Oh, we'd really love to," and then
Yeah.
when they get the opportunity to do it, they're like, "Oh dear God, how do I like pick only one person or
Yeah,
three
it's
people?"
hard.
You know,
Especially
and
when you see so many talented people. Like even when you're competing, like you look at the other people and you're like, I don't know who's gonna win. Like it's hard to
there are
to tell. So they must have a
sometimes
really hard job doing that.
there's sometimes when I've been at conventions, I've seen one set of people, and I've gone, if they don't get something, then that's a travesty. You know, like
Yeah.
the year I was doing Poison Ivy, I didn't care if I didn't get anything because I was like, my costume is just so basic. I don't care, you know.
Yeah.
But there was a little baby there that day
Uh-huh.
who was dressed up like a hobbit. Now the baby could only have been like a couple of months old,
Wow.
and I was like, yeah, get them in early, you know. I don't think the mother entered it into the competition.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, if that baby was in the competition, there's no way anybody else would win. Because, like, how can you compete against a baby?
That's true. They're too cute.
Too cute. But in saying that, there was a family group there that were doing characters from the Ministry of Magic from Harry Potter.
Nice.
And they were so on point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, their costumes, their acting, just how they interact with each other, let alone other people.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so accurate. You know, the only thing that wasn't accurate was that one of them was in a mobility scooter.
Mm-hmm.
But even he got out of his mobility scooter to go up on stage, and I was like, oh my God. You know,
Wow.
and I'm so happy that they did get something. They got Best Group
Nice.
Cosplay. But they were one of the people that I looked at and said, if they don't get something, then that's like the judges need their heads examined, you know.
Yeah.
But you do get questions like that where you just look at them and go, why? You know, just why? Why are you not winning something?
Well, I guess it's because a lot of different cons have different expectations in terms of competition as well. Like certain cons care more about, like, they do think that your act is a very important thing, and some other cons prefer to, make your costume, give more points for your costume. So I guess it depends, for where you compete, and from one competition to another, like you could wear the same costume and win in one and not win at the other one. So
I think that's what they've kind of like the convention organisers have started doing. They've kind of started getting judges that are areaed in certain expertise,
yes.
The last convention I went to that had a judge that I actually knew on a personal level.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of like saying to her, okay, just because if you don't pick me, don't think that we're not going to be friends anymore.
Yeah.
It's not me bribing you or anything, but if you don't pick me, you're not getting a lift home. I didn't do that. Although I could have. You know who I'm talking to there. You know who you are. No, but seriously, she was explaining to me that what she's noticed is that for that convention specifically, she was somebody who knew a lot about applying makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another cosplayer there who knew about the makings of armoured cosplays and sewing. So that was kind of essentially two people in one. And then the third person was somebody who knew about acting. So
because you need to judge so many different aspects. So,
they're getting more and more people who know different aspects of cosplay or performing in general. And to do these particular competitions, which I think is fantastic, because let's say you get asked to judge but you're not so good when it comes to acting, then there's somebody there to pick up that slack.
True.
And a lot of what she was saying is what more and more judges are looking for is an all-rounder, not somebody who's just good at makeup or who's just good at making a costume or just good at acting. They're looking at somebody that can possibly be all three.
Yes.
Which makes the game a little bit more harder, but
For
if
sure.
you're a cosplayer, you're up for the challenge. You know, you have to be.
You have to be. Well, when you compete, you have to do everything. So,
Exactly.
you know, it's nice if the judges can do everything too, you know? So.
Yeah. So my next question for you is, in your opinion, what is 3 of the best things that a cosplayer can do when they're getting ready to go to a cosplay event, and 3 of the worst? So let's start with 3 of the best things that they can do.
3 of the best things when you're getting ready?
When you're getting ready to go to an event like Comic-Con.
I think I tend to be a very organized person, so I would say that if you are going to cosplay at a con, I think it's nice to have a checklist of what every part of your costume. I would write down every part of my costumes and then make sure that I have everything on or with me. But in that checklist, there's also like make sure that you have food and that you have water and then you have tissues if you need to, or if you have, I don't know, let's say a few things that maybe to repair your costume if you need to. Although there is usually like stands where you can, you know, repair your cosplay, so that at the con, so that's nice. But definitely a checklist is something that I would recommend. Then I think making sure that you know that you're taking only the things that you will need. Not try to take, you know, too much things, because then you have a huge bag, and having a huge bag to carry around a convention is never, you know, nice. Well, at least in my opinion. And then I would also say try to go with friends. Go with at least 1 or 2 people that you know, and so if you are a little bit stressed out or if you need help with something, you know you have somebody there for you. So those are, for me, the 3 best things. I think the 3 worst things, although sometimes you can avoid it, I would say avoid staying up all night working on your costume before the con, because you're going to be extremely tired the next day and probably, you know, quite irritable. And when you're in a, you know, big room with a lot of people, it's very easy to be mad when you're tired and you don't, you know, you're not at your best, and you want to be at your best when you're wearing your costume, and you want to have fun, because cons are about having fun. The worst thing that you could do as well is not drink. It's very bad at a con. You have to hydrate, so always make sure that you have, you know, a bottle of water or something to drink, or if you don't, ask someone to go and get it for you if you can't get it yourself. That's very important. And then I think the third one would be try not to be upset for anything. Like if something bad happens, try to quickly forget about it, because the convention is only there for the weekend or 1 day or 2 days, depending on how long you're going to be there. And you want to have the best experience as possible, and I feel like the memories that you have from that convention, you are the one who are making them. So if you are always, you know, trying to be happy and be in a good mood, you're probably going to have better memories from that convention than if you're moaning or getting grumpy, or, you know, try to be, you know, positive and stay smiley and happy, and everything will be fine.
Awesome.
I think that's how I see it.
So I'm going to touch on something that you said there really, really quickly, and it's another kind of story aspect, and we'll see if you've done the same thing. You mentioned for one of the worst things to do, sit up all night doing your costume.
Yeah.
Now, I'm guilty of that. I've spent many hours working on things late at night, sewing, painting, the lot.
Yeah.
However, I have never went the entire night without getting some form of sleep. I
Yeah.
do know somebody who spent the entire night and the following morning, right up until they were going to the actual event, sewing, painting, whatevering. That person went the entire day, and they literally, this is the one thing I hate about them, but I love them at the same time for it. They said that their costume was not finished. They're walking around and they're saying, it's not finished, it's not finished, it's not finished. But then when you look at it, you would say it was a finished costume.
Okay.
Have you ever done a costume like that? Have you ever worked on a costume to the extent where you feel it's not finished, but other people have looked at it and said, yeah, it's totally finished?
Well, not really, because I try not to find myself in this position, because I always try to plan ahead and way ahead, so I don't ever run into this, like rushing situation where I have to rush so late at night that I can't finish it on time. So no, I've never worn a costume that I thought wasn't finished, and people told me this. I mean, I might one day, I might, have a bad experience, have to rush, but fingers crossed, I'll be organized enough not to. So.
Well, it does happen from time to time, because like for people who that particular person in particular, I think what happened was when they were transporting the costume from where they lived to the convention, it might have gotten, like, a particular piece of it might have gotten broken or damaged, and they had to redo that particular part. So
that's tough.
when things like that happen, it is the worst thing ever. I've known people whose props have broken and they've had to, like, get the hot glue gun out and spend the next 24 hours gluing pieces back on or together, kind of thing.
That's horrible, yeah.
That is a nightmare when that happens, but, guys, things like that happen.
It does happen. Like, I have a little, actually a little advice or a little trick that maybe could be useful for people to avoid those kind of situation, is that I try to make my costume long enough in advance so I have a chance to try them on before I go to the con. So let's say to do a photo shoot before, or just try and walk around, try it at home and walk around and stuff and see what is comfortable and what is not comfortable, and you still have room to then find way to make adjustments. For example, on my Prince Philip costume, I tried it on and I realized that because the cape was quite heavy, that it's not bad and you can't see anything, but it sort of like pulls backward a little bit, and so I tied 2 little elastics and put it like under my costume, like around the belt that I have here, and so it keeps everything in place and it makes me feel more comfortable, and I know that I won't have to worry about that. So I feel like if you make your costume enough in advance, you can try it on and see if you can make adjustments for it to be more comfy, or to so it stays together and it doesn't fall apart on you. But yeah,
I think when it comes to transporting your costumes, unless they are fabric based, guys, put them in some form of packing.
Yeah, definitely.
And even when they are even when they are fabric based, before you pack that into your case or whatever, make sure that anything that could fall off is secured tightly.
Sure.
Even if
you want
just have
to plan your packaging ahead.
Yeah, even if you just have to put like another item of clothing that you're not necessarily going to wear over the top of it, that can help. Like, it's not close to hand to me right now, but I reworked my Suicide Squad look for Harley Quinn. And I've got fabric diamonds that hang from my little waistcoat type thing. And there's a little bell right on the corner of the fabric diamond. And I made sure when I was adding that aspect to like double stitch in 3 or 4 times so that it wouldn't go anywhere, even if somebody pulled on it. Like the diamond could come off, but the bell wasn't going anywhere, kind of thing. So I made sure of that, and when I was packing that up to go to the convention, I just simply used the t-shirt that I was going to be wearing to cover that so that it was not going to go anywhere. You know, because fabric will hold on to fabric, oddly enough.
Yeah.
So that is very handy, and it's a little tip that I like to put out there. Just use another piece of fabric to cover it.
Sure.
Anywho, so moving on. When I first started properly thinking about going to Comic-Con, I didn't necessarily know what to expect. I knew that people were going to be cosplaying, and I set in my own mind that I was going to cosplay. So I started to research cosplay in particular. Now, a lot of what I was looking at in terms of cosplay was all coming from the States. There was no UK-based reference. In fact, I don't think there was even any reference in the entire of Europe.
Wow.
Which is kind of amazing. But then we here in Europe haven't been doing cosplay as long as what America has.
Yeah.
America's got a good few years on us, to be fair.
Yeah.
So everything I was looking at, it was kind of strange because I didn't necessarily see any cosplayers as I would classify them. What I was starting to see was mums and dads and young children dressed up in their house, picture taken, possibly off to a costume party. So I started to get really specific with my searches in that stance, and everything I was seeing, it looked as if there was a very specific age group, which was something like mid to early teens to mid-30s. And I thought, that's a very specific age gap, you know, a very specific age group even. And I'm like, thankfully, I fit that age group. So I can go up to somebody and say, comic books? And they can say comic books back to me, and I can go, comic books. So, pointing way over there, you know, like, comic books. So, when you first started in cosplay, did you have a similar notion? Did you start to think like I did, or did you just kind of go in eventually like I did with no expectations and was completely surprised by all the different age groups that were there at Comic-Con?
I think I didn't really have any expectations of what was going to happen. I sort of was just like, I heard friends of mine that were just like, this is amazing, you have to come, it's going to be so great. And I was just like, well, okay, let's just, let's give it a go. And when I went there, I was actually surprised of how welcoming and how great was, the atmosphere. And you're absolutely right. The age group is the one that you said. Like, most people that are cosplaying are around that age, and it's nice because you realize that you have the same sort of fandoms, and you can talk with them about, you have the same passions, and cosplayers that like to make their costumes, or even if they don't make their costumes, you still love the character that you're cosplaying, and so it's very nice because you definitely have things to talk about, and this is what I like about cons. Yeah.
The interesting thing for me is, like, when I eventually went to a Comic-Con, I was so surprised to see so many varying age groups cosplaying. Like, I mentioned earlier in an interview about that little baby. There's also been moments when I've seen people who are grannies and granddads that are also cosplaying, and I'm like, that is fantastic,
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that.
And it always shocks me when I see something like that. I'm like, you're 10 times my age, and yet you're still cosplaying. What's your secret?
What I love to see is what they cosplay, because does it reflect their, generation? Is it fandoms that they have from their generation, or is it something
Here's something that I've found very interesting, and this is partly one of my other questions. Generally, when I've seen, like, an older person cosplaying, there's been the occasional times when I've seen them cosplaying as the guy from Up, which is a simple costume to do if you're in your 90s, let's say. I've also seen people doing characters from Harry Potter, like Dumbledore and whomever else. But the most common thing I see, and maybe this is because I'm in the UK, but I've seen a ton of older generation people doing characters from Doctor Who. And it's their generation's Doctor Who.
Yeah.
You know, which, coincidentally, when you live in the UK, you can't go to a Comic-Con of any description without running into somebody from Doctor Who.
Oh, that's
you know,
cool.
if it's a bigger Comic-Con, you're going to get a whole section devoted to them. If it's a smaller Comic-Con, you might get one or two people, which is why I love the smaller Comic-Cons, because I've never watched Doctor Who in my entire life, so I wouldn't know what to say to them. You know, if a Doctor Who actor cornered me and started talking to me, I'd be like, I don't know who you are. I'm really sorry. I don't know which Doctor you played. I don't know which character you were. I don't know which generation you're from. The best I can just say is David Tennant was Doctor Who at one point. You know, that's it.
Yeah.
That's as far as my Doctor Who knowledge goes. Which,
Yeah, I don't have a lot of knowledge on Doctor Who either, but I know apparently it's great. So many people have been telling me that it's awesome, but I've never had the chance to watch it.
wouldn't know. So, but in addition to that, do you tend to fit your cosplays around your particular age, or do you just go, I like the character, I'm gonna do that character?
I am I work, like, I choose my characters by how much I love them. If I just love them a lot, I will cosplay them, and if I don't like them, I just won't. Of course, there is also a little bit of, body type, and that sort of goes into my thinking, but I try to work my way around that. If I really liked a character, there's always ways, because they have different designs maybe that are not so revealing, or things like that. But I think the most important part is to love the character, because if you're gonna have to be that character for an entire day, you might as well like it, because if you have no affection for that character whatsoever, even if it suits you or you look good in it, like, you lose the aspect of the, you being a fan of that character, and you being able to talk about it, and you being able to share with other people who like that character too.
Is there any particular cosplay that you have, or particular cosplays that you tend to think, right, well, I'll do that cosplay when I'm closer to that age, or any particular cosplay that you've done that you've looked at nowadays and said, well, I'm too old to do that cosplay now?
Well, because I'm 29 and I'm still cosplaying Peter Pan, I think
the answer to that would be no.
It's okay, but so it doesn't matter. I mean, I think I can still pull it off for a few years, but we'll see, But maybe eventually I'll be too old to be Peter Pan, so then I can't do it.
Well,
but
I don't know about that, because Robin Williams pulled it off.
True, it's true.
So,
I'll just do another version, like I was saying earlier. I'll just do another version of the character that suits me at this moment in life. So, no, I've never actually thought about, like, age or how does it interfere. I think the most important factor is, like I was saying, do I like that character, or do I not?
because I've known a few people who have looked at cosplays and said, well, I'm not that age yet, so I'm going to wait until I'm a little bit older to do that cosplay. Or they've sometimes looked at a cosplay and said, oh, I'm far too old to do that particular cosplay, because that's a very young man's cosplay or young woman's cosplay. And I have to admit, I get so sad when I hear that, because I just want to say to them, it doesn't matter what age
It doesn't. It really doesn't.
Makeup can hide or enhance shit like that. You know?
Yeah.
there are so many different people that I know that have done various cosplays. Like, I'm going to name drop here. Cause the Commotion Cosplay, whose interview is on the channel, guys. You should go check their interviews out. Well, their interview out. They're a husband and wife team. And Dean has cosplayed as Star-Lord multiple times when his wife Shalena has done, I can't remember the name of the green woman in Guardians of the Galaxy. Gamora?
Gamora?
She's done Gamora and he's done Star-Lord, and he feels he's going to start doing Star-Lord's father more and more nowadays. And which is totally fine by me. You know, it's like, do what you want to do. But Shalena is so talented in the fact that she knows how to do makeup and how to do it well. I think she actively encourages Dean to not necessarily write off those types of characters because it is doable.
Yeah.
But I think it all comes down to what the person is feeling at that particular point in time. Like,
yeah,
I would never rule out certain characters. You know, because I want to try a bunch of different characters. It might take me a while to do them, but I would definitely want to give them a shot. While we're actually on the subject of ages and whatnot, have you ever picked... now this is in your cosplayer career only, not in your Disney career, because I know that that's different. Have you ever picked a specific cosplay in order to appeal to a certain generation?
No. Like I was telling you, I like to cosplay the things that I like. I don't really put that much thought into it. I feel like it's sort of when you like something, it shows. And I think it's easier. You're more likely to get people that like what you're doing if they see that you're into what you're doing. You know, instead of like picking something that, you know, a wide variety of people might like, and then but you're not a, you know, fan of that or whatever. So no, I never thought about that, but not yet at least.
Obviously, that kind of thing would be different when you're doing, when you've been working for Disney, because they're obviously telling you, right, we need you to play Peter Pan or Aladdin or Buzz Lightyear or one of the toy soldiers, because that's their company and they're telling you, right, we need you to play this character.
Yes.
When you've been cosplaying as, say, Peter Pan, do you tend to feel that you're getting more attention from a younger audience than what you would maybe somebody closer to our own ages?
Peter Pan is a funny character in the sense that older people know who he is because it's also an old movie, but for some reason it hasn't aged that bad, and younger generations seem to know about Peter too. So what I love is when I meet little kids, because they are so into it when they meet you and they actually think that you are that character, and it's so much fun. But I feel like Peter is probably one of those characters that has gone through the generations, so pretty much, you know, everybody knows. It's a little different, for example, when I cosplayed Joffrey Baratheon from Game of Thrones. I was getting a lot more attention of like teenagers or people, you know, in their 20s. Not so much attention from older people or from younger people that didn't obviously know who he was. So.
Is there any particular cosplay that you've got planned that you know will get a reaction out of a specific age group? And that's just a simple yes or no. We don't need to know what that cosplay is at the moment.
Yes, there are cosplays that I'm planning on doing that are more oriented into like our generation, like, you know, like 20s or maybe like late teenagers. But yeah.
Awesome. So moving along from age differences within cosplay, didn't think of that word there. That's terrible. Inside cosplay, and I forget what it is we're actually talking about. So my next question for you is the joy and pain of every cosplayer. The props.
The props.
The props. So props fall into 2 categories and then 3 subcategories for me. It goes to a Comic-Con only. It goes to a photo shoot not at a Comic-Con only. Now, obviously, all props depend on what cosplay you're doing, but there are obviously 3 different sizes when it comes to props. There is oh my god, it's so large, I don't know how I'm going to get it out of my room, let alone out of my house and then into my car into an event or photo shoot.
Like a Harley Quinn hammer.
Or a cloudbuster sword.
Yeah.
And then there's the medium size, which is, oh yes, I can easily get this out of my house, into my car, into the event, no problem. But it will annoy me if I have to hold it for 7 hours straight. And then the nice and small prop, which is, oh yes, this prop is so small, it's so petite, it goes in my bag, it goes in my pocket, it goes anywhere, and I'm good to go. Now, obviously, again, costume permitting, which out of those sizes of props are you more inclined to work with when you're going to a photo shoot?
Well, I've actually never made big props. I want to make big props because I want to give it a go, but I've only dealt with usually smaller props that I have. So I use those at photo shoots mainly. I've never really had to work with a big prop yet, but I would be excited to do that. But I feel like for a photo shoot, it's more.
Do it.
Why not?
Do it.
Yeah,
Sorry,
for a
you were
photo
saying?
shoot, I think it's okay, but for a con, having a big prop like that can be probably a bit of a pain.
Yeah, it's a nightmare, but it has its advantages if you know how to use it correctly.
Sure.
If you're going to a Comic-Con convent, what size of prop are you more inclined to take with you then?
Probably a small prop, you know, something that you can carry around and that doesn't bother you. That's part of your costume that you can, you know, like for example, my Peter Pan cosplay has a dagger. It's small and it's easy. I can fit it in my belt, and then when I need to take it out for a picture, I'll take it out. But then, you know, I can put it back and it's there. It's not bothering me. So yeah. Small props are good.
So, on the subject of props, do you, A, buy them in ready-made and ready to go, B, buy them in and customize them, or C, buy the raw materials from scratch and make it yourself? Or do you do all 3?
I make them myself, but I have actually a few cosplays that are planned that one of my friends is going to make it for me, and I'm going to customize it after. So, yeah, those 2.
Awesome. Now, let's talk about the creation process when you are making your own prop. Now, since I am a fellow artist, I do know that a lot of people have their own creation process when it comes to something. Oh, we just had a little blip there. Alright, I think we're good. Just a small blip there, guys, nothing to worry about.
Oops.
So when it comes to making your own props, do you go through a similar creation process that I do, which is you're very calm to begin with. And then when something doesn't quite start going the way you anticipate it to, you start to question it, but you're in question it internally. It continues not to go the way that you'd hoped. So you start verbally questioning the prop, the inanimate object, and saying, why are you not working? And then you keep going in that direction and you're getting more and more angsty in a sense. To the point where you start screaming at the prop, why are you not bleeping working, you bleeping piece of bleep? I'm going to throw you out the bleeping window. Why? And then bargaining with the prop. And you say, you know, if you work, I'll be your best friend. Yeah? Have you, like, I know that that's not everybody's creation process, it's maybe just mine. But have you ever been in a position where you kind of literally almost lost it with a prop?
I do relate to that. When things don't go the way I want, I try to put them away for a while. You know, I'll leave them be, and I feel like this is when my mind is going, how can I fix this? How can I make this better? And once I know, or once I feel that I found the way to, you know, solve that problem, then I'll go back to it. But then again, this comes with planning and having enough time in your hands to, you know, do that, you know, go away from it and come back from it. Because if you're rushing and you only have like 24 hours to finish it, you have no other choices but to work on it, and this is when it gets nasty.
So my question to you now is, what is the prop that almost drove you over the edge? Because I have mine that almost drove me over the edge sitting on my knee right now.
It's actually, I don't think you can consider it a prop, but I did a Snow White costume for a friend of mine, and there is this big stand-up collar, and this stand-up collar drove me absolutely nuts because it didn't want to stay the way I wanted, and I had to argue with it for a while, and I actually had to redo it about 4 or 5 times before it was the way I wanted. So that was, to me, the worst prop. It's not really a prop, but, you know, it's a part of a costume that's not necessarily something that you usually make when you make a costume, because it's very specific to this character or certain types of characters.
So for me, my prop was something that I made because of an updated costume. When I first did my Suicide Squad look for Harley Quinn, or my gender bent Hayden Quinn, I did it because the movie was announced, you know. And then when the movie was announced, we didn't have anything to go on of what the characters would look like, or all we knew at that point was Deadshot was going to be in there and Harley Quinn was going to be in there. That was it. So I was like, okay, I don't know what Margot Robbie's going to look like, and since then the movie had come out and I'd seen what she looked like, and I was like, I can do my own interpretation of that. And I got 2 toy guns which I painted and wrote Pudding Time on both of them. And I felt a little sketchy about using them because of what had happened over in America with, I think it was David Frank Jason. How somebody at a con pulled a gun on him, and all cons have been kind of locked down since then with their security, and, you know, fair enough. So I was like, I don't know whether I necessarily want to use these, even though it was very clear that they were toy guns. They had the little orange tip on them and the authentication signature on it as well. But I was like, I need another prop that is practical, that I can use. And I was like, what can I use for Harley? I can't run out and buy a rubber chicken because there's no joke shops close to me. And I was like, what can I use? What can I use? What can I use? And I was playing Arkham Knight, and the Harley Quinn level in particular. And she has this little jack-in-the-box thing. And I was like, that is perfect because it's also practical. If I make it the correct way, I can store things in the box. So, this, in its infinite wisdom, was made.
Cute!
So,
Yay!
and this entire thing is con friendly because it's just cardboard and styrofoam.
Nice.
So completely con friendly and completely practical. But it is one of the things that completely drove me off the deep end. Because there is so much in this particular, like, one little thing that literally just did make me go bonkers, because I was like, how do I get the red bits of card to stick to the paint? How do I get the diamonds on? How do I get the little head bit stitched on? You know, just how's it all going to work? And I ended up speaking to this particular prop multiple times, asking it, why are you not working? Will you be my, like, I will be your friend if you work. I even threatened it with violence to the extent where my archer was like, do you need to take a moment to go and breathe? And I'm like, yes, I do.
Yes.
But the very fun thing is, people love this prop at cons. It's the first thing everybody asks to hold, and they're like, can I touch it? And I'm like, please don't, just leave it alone. I don't know what kind of mood it's in today, please leave it be. But it's also one of the things that sits very proudly on my bookcase in my room, and it is something that I'm extremely proud of.
Yeah.
Even though you did drive me insane, didn't you? So,
I think it's adorable.
Props. It's also one of the props that, even though I'm kind of happy in saying that I'm finished Harley, like doing Harley, this is one of the things that says, you want to do Harley again.
Yeah.
You want to do Harley again. And again.
Do it again.
So it's always one of the ones that I have to consider because of that godforsaken prop. But there is another prop I'm working on, which would definitely be Harley, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving along. What has cosplay opened up for you away from being in costume? So what kind of opportunities have you gotten out of cosplay?
Well, it allowed me to, it's actually my job, as I work for a princess company, you know, like those things that do birthdays and parties like that for kids. So I met people that own companies like that through cosplay, and it's now my job. So I do that, and then I do cosplay on the side. So I feel like it's nice because it has allowed me to have a job that is similar to the one that I had when I was working for Disney, but it's still, you know, without me needing to be at Disney and be there like from 8 to 6 at night, you know, so I just have I have more time for my cosplay and being creative while still doing something that I like. So I think this is one of the biggest opportunity that it has given me, and I'm so thankful.
Awesome. So my next question for you is a 3 answered question. So it's your next 3 cosplays. Now, to break that down, who you're going to be at your next event, who you're working on for an event that we might see middle of the year.
Yes.
And somebody that you're thinking about for either the end of 2018 or the beginning of 2019.
Okay.
So first and foremost, who are you going to be at your next event?
My next event, which is next week at Facts Convention in Belgium.
So, hold on a second. Not like next week while we're recording this interview, so
oh yes,
you will have possibly already been this person.
Yes, I would have been this character.
The magic of filming, guys.
Yes. Sorry. So do I still say this character then? Yeah. Okay. So Prince Philip. I already have pictures on my Instagram, and then the cosplay that I will be at a con that will be
the middle of the year.
I
So somebody that you're currently working on making.
I'm currently working on Poison Ivy. I feel like we've talked about her as well. So that's one that I'm currently working on. And then one that I would do for
well, somebody that you're thinking about that we might see end of 2018, possibly beginning of 2019.
This is tough because there's a few that I am tempted to do, and I don't know what order it's going to be in. But I think I'm going to do Killian Jones from Once Upon a Time.
Awesome.
So yes, a lot of leather work, and I am super excited about that, and I love that character. So
awesome. So my next question for you is, what advice would you give to somebody who is new to cosplaying but doesn't necessarily know where to start?
I would say, first of all, pick a character that you absolutely adore. A character that you've always wanted to be, that you love their personality, you know, their movie or their comics, or or Inside Out, something that you personally really, really like, and then try to work from there. I would say try to pick a costume that is not too hard to start, but then I feel like you being in love with that character is more important than anything, because when you're going to wear it to the con, this is going to allow you to have interaction with people that love that character too, and so you're going to have probably a much nicer time being able to talk about something that you love than doing a costume because it's simple, but then you not liking that character as much, and then therefore not enjoying it as much.
So with that being said, guys, that is all the questions that we have for Blondie. Don't forget to, if you have a question for either myself or Blondie, put it down in, Blondie, do you see that down there? There's like a comment section.
Yes!
There it is.
Comment,
right
guys!
Right there. And either myself or Blondie will do our very best to answer said question.
Yes.
And don't forget to give us a thumb if you like this video, because we like our thumbs. Give the thumb button a little tickle. And guys, do subscribe to my channel for more Inside Cosplay content, as well as video gaming content and other interviews with celebrities when I'm going behind the mask. And for some strange reason, if you cannot get enough of me, you can find me on this wonderful website called iGameOnline.net. You can find a Facebook page for us on Facebook, guys, and we do have a YouTube channel where our wonderful content of Merp, possibly Dragonlance, and a few other things are happening. While on the iGame website, guys, do check out our tabletop section where we have a lot of different shows happening right now. Like I mentioned, we do have our Merp, which is our Lord of the Rings role-playing session. We have our Dragonlance session, which is live on Twitch with myself and the wonderful Faye and multiple other people from iGame, like Whisper Greentop, Zelly, Hayakules, Dark Lee, Honey Jade, Nanya, Gilgamesh, lots of other characters and really crazy people. We do our live feed then, guys, where we are in the world of Kryn, traveling around and seeing what crazy scenarios we can get into. If Dragonlance is not your thing and Lord of the Rings is more your thing, do check out the Merp series. But we also have a brand new tabletop session called Random Encounters, which I'm not 100% sure whether that's going to be a recorded show or not, but be on the lookout for that in the future, guys. And it is, I think, going to be there, or already is there on iGame, so do check that out. However, if cosplay is more your thing, don't forget to check out our cosplayers that are on the actual website. We have the wonderful Covey Kicks, the amazing Alphabetti Cosplay, Little Rascal, who's always got something cooking in the ether, and one of our most amazing Link cosplayers, the absolutely fantastic person to talk to, Tinafel. And if you want to know what those people are like, I do have interviews with each and every one of them on the Inside Cosplay playlist. So go and check them out. However, though, if you do have a question for Blondie, but you don't necessarily want to put it down in the comments section, why the hell not?
Why not?
Blondie is going to give us some amazing places and links to where we can get a hold of him if we do have any particular questions we'd like to ask him. So Blondie, where can we get a hold of you if we have any further questions that we'd like to ask you personally?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram at Blondecay, so BLONDECAY. And then you can also follow me on Facebook at Blondecay Design and Cosplay, and I also have a YouTube channel which is called Blondecay too. So
totally go and subscribe to him, guys.
Yes! So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'll do my best to answer them.
Awesome. Now, don't worry if you miss any of those links, guys. They will be in the description of this video. So do go along and support Blondie as much as possible. And if you do happen to be at an event that he's at, do go and say hello to him. I'm sure he won't mind that. And
I can give you a hug.
He doesn't bite, honest. But in the meantime, guys, I've been Jai452, Blondecay has been Blondecay, and this has been Inside Cosplay. We will be back with another interview really soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.